I am Thorchlisk, and welcome to the third and final video on my Units Overview series. Today we are going to be talking about the Zerg units. And first of all, we have drones. These are the Zerg worker units. As with all of the worker units, they're not good at combat. They are designed to be workers, and nothing else. Alright, next up, we have the Zergling. These guys are fast little melee units with, not great hit points, but they're nice and fast, they do pretty good damage, and they are the Zerg basic unit. They have two upgrades. They have adrenal glands and metabolic boost, and I will show you what those do in a second. Go back. They have adrenal glands, which makes them metabolic boost, which makes them go faster. Their movement speed is way faster. So, these guys will have it, these guys don't, and you'll see how significant, it is quite a bit faster, and very good upgrade. It's almost necessary, honestly. If you don't get that upgrade, your Zerglings are going to be so much worse. I did not mean to get rid of those. Alright, the next upgrade is adrenal glands. This is way more significant. In fact, let's go back. We're going to do 25 on this side and 20 on this side. And you're going to see how much of a difference it makes. These are the exact same units, except for one side has metabolic boost and adrenal glands. Adrenal glands increases their attack speed by 40%, which is pretty massive, honestly. It's enough to have the blue side win over the red side, even though the red side had significantly more units. Next we have banelings. Banelings are pretty cool. They go up, they attack other units by exploding, and they deal damage in an area around them. They have one upgrade, centrifugal hooks. Let's show you them without it. They go and they blow up, and they are really, really good against Zerglings, really good against Marines, and pretty good against Zealots, not banelings. And then centrifugal hooks. This is also called their roly-poly upgrade. It allows them to roll. It increases their movement speed and increases their life by 5. Very nice upgrade. Banelings are super good units. They are so hard to deal with. You should get a lot of them at at early levels, you should get a lot of them. At mid levels, you should still get a lot of them. And at higher levels, you should still get a lot of them. They're just a good unit. They're really nice. Alright, next up we have roaches. Roaches have significantly more health than Zerglings. And they're almost just a step up from Zerglings. Although Zerglings do higher damage per cost, roaches cost significantly more. They attack by spitting acid, and they're pretty good. They're a really solid. Just a lot of people will start Zerglings and then go up to roaches, especially against Protoss. A lot of people will play roach ravagers. Speaking of ravagers, roaches can turn into ravagers. It costs some extra resources. Costs 75 extra gas and 25 extra minerals. And ravagers are like a slightly weaker roach, except they have this ability, corrosive bile, which allows them to launch this stuff, and it lands in a small area and deals pretty good damage. Deals 60 damage, and they are nice. You put them in your armies, and you can just rain biles on top of your enemies. Very, very useful stuff. Next, we have the Hydralisk. And Hydralisks do not have a lot of health. So Hydralisks are like the classic Zerg glass cannon. They attack quickly, they do good damage, but they do not have a lot of health. So if we start and have them fight, you can see they do good damage, but once the Zerglings get on top of them, they don't do very well after that. Hydralisks are really good when paired with roaches, because roaches have less attack range, so the roaches will get in front of the Hydralisks, and roaches have a lot more health. and then that leaves Hydralisks to be in the back and do a lot of damage. Very good combination here. Well, for lower levels. At higher levels, they don't use it so much, but it's pretty good at lower levels. Hydralisks have 2 upgrades. They have Grooved Spines, which increases their attack range by 1, bumping it up from 5 to 6. And then they have Muscular Augments, which increases their speed. I failed to mention this, but roaches also have a couple of neat upgrades. They have Tunneling Claws, which lets them move while burrowed. So if we go over here, if we were to burrow this whole army, the Hydralisks can't move, but the roaches... Did I not give them Tunneling Claws? No, I didn't give them Tunneling Claws. The Hydralisks now can't move, but the roaches can, because they have Tunneling Claws. Okay, and then their other upgrade, Roach's other upgrade, makes them faster. A lot of Zerg units you'll find have an upgrade that just makes them faster. Kind of nice. Hydralisks can morph into lurkers when you get a lurker den. Lurkers are really nice. So they can only attack while burrowed. And when they are burrowed, they attack in a line, and this is their range. So have the Zerglings attack into them. They do really good. They do good damage in a line. Lurkers are really nice. I feel like you can honestly add lurkers into basically any army, and they're just good. There's not that much crazy about them, but they're just good units. They shred Zerglings, they shred roaches, they shred marines. They're good against stalkers. They're just good. Oh, I should go back. Hold up. They're just good in general. They have 2 upgrades. One that increases their attack range, which is pretty huge, and then they also have another upgrade that makes it so they burrow faster, which is also really, really useful. So over here, you saw how that fight went poorly for the lurkers, and now we're going to give them 2 extra range, and it's going to go significantly better. They may not win it still, but it's going to go better. Because the thing about adding 2 extra range is, it also increases their splash area because they attack in a straight line. So they hit all along the range. See? It's still going to lose, but it did way better. There's 4 roaches now remaining as opposed to like the 8 there were before. And then Adaptive Talons just makes them burrow faster. Alright, the next unit is the Infestor. I'm honestly not sure what order these units are in. This is not in tech order. If it was in tech order, it would go these guys, these guys, these guys, queens, roaches, hydra... Like, I don't know what order this is in, but this is a weird order. Okay. So, these guys can move while burrowed as well, just like roaches. They have a few cool abilities. First of all, they have Microbial Shroud, which is only useful against air units, and it's only questionably useful then. They have Fungal Growth, which is really nice. It deals damage in an area and slows the units significantly. I believe it's 75. I'll check after I'm done with this little bit here. They are spellcasters, however, which means don't use them until you have a lot of experience playing the game, and you can... Oh, 30... let's see. Yes, slow by 75%. Very useful, because it reveals cloaked and burrowed units. That's another really crucial thing about them. They have 2 upgrades. They have one that increases their starting energy. Oh, they have 3. One that allows them to use the Neuroparasite ability, and one that allows them to use the Microbial Shroud ability. Although I'm not sure if Microbial Shroud... I think Microbial Shroud is not currently in the thing. So, with Neuroparasite, they can take control of a unit temporarily, and it's really nice, because it will now attack other units. It'll attack friendly units. Very useful ability to have. And it's only temporary, so when they're done, when the time runs out, then the roaches will go back to attacking the infestors. So they're pretty solid units. Next, we have the Overlord, which gives you supply. That is its primary purpose. Next, we have the Overseer, which is your detector. Otherwise, it's not super useful. It has a couple of abilities. It has Spawn Changeling, which spawns a little creature that then turns into the basic unit of your opponent and looks exactly like the basic unit of your opponent. Useful for scouting, but they're not like the primary purpose of getting an overseer. You get an overseer to detect, and then you might use spawn changeling. And then you have contaminate, which makes it so the structure, you put it on a structure, and that structure can't produce for a while. Alright, next up we have mutalisks. Mutalisks are primarily a harassment tool, and in that respect, they are good. They are really good at harassing, and really frustrating to deal with. I hate dealing with mutalisks. However, mutalisks do not have a lot of health, and they don't do a ton of damage. They are not great in a straight up fight, but when you're harassing with them, absolute pain in the neck to deal with. However, because their attacks bounce, which means that if you can get a lot of them, they're pretty decent at fighting. Again, they're never going to be great at fighting. They can be decent though. Once you reach a critical mass, they can be pretty good. They can, but again, they're mostly used for harassment. But in that respect, they are just so good. I hate dealing with them. They take, if you're going into a straight up fight, they take skill to maneuver. And they also take skill otherwise when you're harassing with them, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the cost of spending time to control them. Next we have corruptors. These guys are just anti-air, and they're pretty good. They have quite a bit of health. They do a decent amount of damage. Just a basic, solid anti-air unit. They have two main abilities. First of all, they have Caustic Spray, which they can use on a structure, and it starts out dealing not a ton of damage, and then it drastically increases after like 3.5 seconds or something like that. So let's do this fight again. And I just increase the amount of corruptors because then you can really see how much it ramps up, and it's really quite cool. It's a pretty decent ability occasionally. So if we put it over, activate it. I forgot I have to activate it individually for each one, which is lame, but like, it's not a lot, and then all of a sudden it massively increases until just does a lot of damage pretty quickly. It's pretty good. Situationally useful. I wouldn't get corruptors for the ability, but they're pretty good. Corruptors can turn into broodlords, and broodlords are awesome. I love broodlords. They really are the ultimate Zerg Sky unit. They spawn little broodlings and use them to attack, and they're just so hard to deal with. They're easy to make. You send them, you attack them. There's not much control you can do with them because they're not very fast. But then it just takes so much to deal with them. They're so good. I would absolutely recommend using them. At low levels, they're easy to make. You just tech up, and then you can use them. Recently, in the recent patch, their movement speed got increased, so now they're decently fast. They used to be super slow, and now they're not terrible. Next up we have the Ultralisk, and Ultralisks are kind of like broodlords, except they're on the ground instead of flying. These guys are good. At low levels, right? At higher levels, they're much less good, but when you're just starting out, you build Ultralisks or broodlords. Pick one and build a bunch of them. So if we have them attack the roaches, they do splash in a small area, and they have pretty solid armor. They have good health. They have a lot of health. So that's their big thing. They have a lot of health. Their damage is pretty good. They're just pretty good all around melee units. The recent patch made them smaller in size, but no weaker. And the smaller size is actually really useful because it means that they don't bump into each other so much. So at their previous size, they would bump into stuff and they would not be useful because it would take them so long to get to the fight. Once they got to the fight, they were really good, as you saw. But it took him forever to get there. I'm just really curious how many roaches 5 Ultralisks can take on. That's the only reason I'm doing this fight. And just to prove that the Ultralisks are really good. They have 2 upgrades. The first upgrade is chitinous plating, which gives them +2 armor. So I'm just gonna get a lot more roaches. Yeah, we're gonna go with 55 roaches. Wait, hold up. I'm gonna go back and turn off chitinous plating. And I'm gonna show you how big of a difference this upgrade makes. So if we have them go in, the Ultralisks should lose this by a pretty significant margin. Yeah, it's a lot of roaches. Like, if you have 5 Ultralisks and your opponent has 55 roaches, you have not been doing well. You have not been doing it at the game. They also have anabolic synthesis, which increases their movement speed off of creep. So I'm going to get them that upgrade as well. I'm just going to show you how big of a difference. Chitinous plating gives them +2 armor, and armor decreases the damage of every attack made against them. So their armor is amazing. So increasing that +2 armor makes it such that they have a base armor of 2, and then 4 from chitinous plating, and then if you get them their full upgrades, they have 7 armor. Yeah, 7 armor is amazing. It's incredible. Like, an Ultralisk without the armor upgrades and without chitinous plating, Ultralisks are pretty weak, especially to Marines and Marauders. Once you get those 2 upgrades for them, oh man, it is a sight to behold. Alright, and then, not finally, we're not even close. Why did I say finally? We have Swarm Hosts. Next up, we have Swarm Hosts. Swarm Hosts they're interesting. Free units are fascinating. Like, in any game, free units are interesting. So we burrow them. They can burrow and release their things, or they can just do them anyways. And if we just tell them to spawn them in this location. Their big ability is they spawn locusts. They have no attack by themselves, but they can spawn these guys. And these guys, they deal a lot of damage. Their damage is really good, but they have timed life and their health is not that great. And now, in between when they've sent those things and when they come back, Swarm Hosts are not good and they take a lot of supply. But they can be really nice. If you got like 20 Swarm Hosts, I mean, it's scary. You send those against a Protoss army, if they underestimate you, the army, like, they're losing so much, and you don't lose anything, assuming you keep your Swarm Hosts far enough back. So they can be pretty good. You know, it takes some time to experiment with them and get them to the point where they're really good. Alright, next we have Vipers, which are again spellcasters, so don't use...
Hey, Editing Room Thorchalist here. I don't know why the audio cut out right here, and what I was saying is that it is a spellcaster, so don't use it until you have some experience with the game, and your macro is up to scratch.
I'm going to talk you through what they can do. So they have several abilities. First of all, they have Consume, which lets them gain energy from taking health from one of your buildings. Then they have Abduct, which allows them to yoink enemy unit, which in this case I don't know why you'd want to, because you can't attack them. But usually you would pair these up with allied units, right? So if you had 5 Hydralisks now, instead of fighting the whole Mutalisk clump at once, you can pull one of them, and then your Hydralisks can kill it. Very nice. The next ability they have is Blinding Cloud, which reduces the attack range of all ground units to 1, which is really useful against siege tanks, because siege tanks have a minimum range, which means that it just makes it so siege tanks can't attack. It can literally just shut down siege tanks for a while. Very useful ability. And then the last one they have is Parasitic Bomb, which makes it deal damage to air units around, which you cast on an air unit, makes it deal damage to them and to units in an area around them. It's pretty good, honestly. I like it. They're all useful abilities, but again, I wouldn't use them until you are have spent some time developing your skills in the game, and until you're able to macro well and all of that stuff. So, and then finally we have ravagers and lurkers, which I already talked about. So that's all of the Zerg units. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.